Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to this Live Longer Better in Hertfordshire and Study Active UK Masterclass. We're really lucky today to have the wonderful Heather Walker with us, who's going to be delivering this masterclass for us. My name is Charlotte Bird and I'm the Active Ageing Officer at the Heart Sports and Physical Activity Partnership, and I'm merely here today to introduce Heather and give you a little bit of housekeeping. So to give you an idea of Heather and Study Active UK, Heather is an older adult expert tutor, and she's got great experience supporting older adults with physical activity as she regularly runs and instructs older adults. And she also has an Active IQ Level 3 award in designing exercise programs for older adults. And Heather works for Study Active UK, and Study Active UK are the leading provider of CIMSPA accredited qualifications. And just in case you're not aware, CIMSPA is the Chartered Institute for the Management and Sport and Physical Activity. And so they're our chartered institute in this sector. So we're in great hands with Heather and Study Active UK. This is the first collaborative webinar that we've done. Hopefully there'll be more in the future. And we have a little bit of housekeeping, if that's okay. So automatically, because this is a webinar on Zoom, you are already muted and your cameras are off, and they'll remain that way throughout the webinar. And for the best view, I would recommend selecting in the top right-hand corner of your screen speaker view. And I just think that will make the viewing experience a little bit better. Comments and networking are always welcome in the chat function, and I can see some popping up already. I'll keep an eye on that, and if we have any questions through, I know that hopefully we're planning some time at the end to answer those questions. So I'll keep an eye on them, and I'll let you know, Heather, when we get to the end. But there is a Q&A box, so you're welcome to put them specifically in there as well. When you're sending a message, just double check that you select to send it to everyone, because I think they make it go to the panelists and the hosts first of all. But if you just select everyone, then we can make sure we all see your message. And this webinar is being recorded and it will be shared with everyone who's registered for the event, but you're welcome to share it with other colleagues and friends, anyone who you think might find it useful. At the end of the webinar, and when you leave, a feedback survey will pop up, and there's just 6 questions on there. So if you have a minute or two, we really appreciate your feedback. As I say, this is the first collaborative webinar that we've done, and we want to do many more. So please do fill it in so that we know what to look at for future webinars and what would be helpful. But that's everything from me. So without further ado, I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll hand over to Heather.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us today. Charlotte, I can't share my screen because it's disabled. Could you
let me sort that out for you?
For me, please. So whilst we're just sorting that, it
should be working now for you, Heather.
Brilliant, thank you. So as Charlotte said, I work for Study Active, and I regularly teach older adults. I actually own an aerial arts studio, so that's kind of more my fitness and my physical activity these days. But I am also involved in like general gym fitness classes as well. But predominantly these days, my older adults do my aerial hoop classes. I'm just going to swap that over. So hopefully that is now up for you. So today's webinar is strategies to motivate inactive older adults. Oh, hang on, I can't get it to do what I want it to do. Bear with me 2 seconds. There we are, right. So before we start, I'm just going to kind of just cover very quickly. Any older adult that does physical activity, takes part in physical activity, they must complete a PAR-Q form and potentially also get GP consent. Any advice that they've had from their GP should be factored in and followed. And if they've got any medical conditions or anything, that's slightly higher risk, they should only be doing exercise that is supervised by a qualified exercise professional. So this is either someone with a level 3 exercise referral qualification, or they're supporting clients with long-term conditions, or if they've got something even more, they might need like a level 4 qualification instead. Just because even if you might have an older adults qualification, you would still need an exercise referral equivalent qualification for any older adult with medical conditions. And as always, if in doubt, consult their GP. So today we're going to cover the trans-theoretical model of behaviour change and how this can be applied. And we're also going to, throughout this, look at methods and strategies to help motivate and engage inactive older adults with exercise. So what is the trans-theoretical model of change? So as you can see here, it is 6 different stages. Yep, 6 different stages. And so anybody that is thinking about making a change, or maybe not even thinking about making a change, they're going to go through these 6 phases to kind of get from pre-contemplation all the way through to termination. So pre-contemplation is before they're even thinking about making the change. They've got no interest, they're just happy, kind of doing their own thing. So basically for our inactive older adults, they're not even thinking about doing any form of physical activity. From here, people will move into the contemplation phase. So this is where they're thinking about making the change. So, you know, they understand that, you know, physical activity will benefit them. So they're like, oh yeah, that's something that I should probably be doing. They're kind of going towards that starting of making this change. From here, they'll move into the preparation stage. So this is where they've decided they're going to make a change. They're going to start this physical activity. So now they're kind of just putting their plans in place. So they might be booking a class, or, you know, they've researched personal trainers in the area that will be able to help them. Anything really that's kind of, they're taking that first step on the journey to engaging in physical activity. From here, we're going to go to the action phase. So this is now they're making the change. They're going to this class. They're doing exercise. This is kind of where we're trying to get people to. We want to get them to the action phase. And from here, we will move them to the maintenance, which is where they've been doing it for about 6 months. So at this point, you know, it's become a part of their life. They've been doing it regularly. It's now something that they do, which then leads to termination. So this is, you know, they've been doing it now for a very long time. It is definitely a part of their life. They're not even going to consider going back. That change is now part of them and who they are. Every single stage here, you can see you've got the potential for relapse. So this is where they might go back a stage or go back a few stages. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be talking about how we can kind of move people on through each of the stages, aiming to get to action, maintenance, termination. But we're also going to cover a few things on how we can maybe prevent relapse and prevent people going backwards. Sometimes, unfortunately, people might relapse because, oh, Deborah fell over and broke her ankle running for the bus, so she's not going to do exercise anymore. Obviously, we can't account for that, but things that we can maybe try and influence, we'll cover a little bit of that as well. So with everybody, really, not just older adults, but with everybody, we have to realise they're possibly not going to immediately be ready to make a change. So with our older adults, we can't just throw a gym membership at them and kind of expect that that's going to do the job. We're going to have to be a lot more creative, because if they are not ready to make that change, we've got to change their mind. We're going to do this using multiple different methods, multiple approaches, and that's what we're going to kind of explore now. So we need to make them aware, because they might not be aware to start with. They might not know that there's a lot of benefits for physical activity, or they might not be aware of the detriments of being sedentary and being inactive. So this is something that we're firstly going to have to do. We're going to have to make them aware. We're going to have to help them understand what the benefits are. With any health promotion campaign that we produce, or any campaign that's out there, got to make sure it is targeting and it is filtering through to the older adult demographic. A lot of times campaigns can be quite digital. You know, you might be scrolling through Facebook or Instagram and see something from the government about let's move more, do your, 5 times 30, 5 times a week. Older adults aren't necessarily going to be tech savvy. They're not going to be always in the digital age. So we need to kind of find other ways and of producing campaigns that they're more likely to kind of come across. So we can do things like posters, flyers, leaflets, radio campaigns, website adverts, maybe. Some of them will be online, so we can find some adverts on the websites as well. But yeah, with our posters and flyers and things, we're going to be thinking about where are older adults going to be going. So, you know, you can pop them in social clubs, shops, cafes, restaurants, garden centres, and even GP surgeries. If you've got a GP surgery near to you, you can kind of go along and be like, I'm doing these classes for aimed at older adults. Would it be okay if I put some flyers up or some leaflets? And most of the time they'll have like a community board or something that you can stick stuff on. So yeah, so we're kind of thinking, where are my older adults going to be? Where can I put things that they're going to see? With any kind of campaign that we're doing, we want to think about social proof and how we can use social proof as part of these campaigns. So we're looking at, you know, ways of making older physical activity seem trendy to the older adults. And we can use almost influencers, possibly not the influencers like you'd see on social media these days, but more people that are actually in their communities, people that are already doing physical activity, whether they've been doing it all their life, or ideally someone who's started physical activity a little bit later, who's now seen the benefits and seen the positive effects it's had, who's then going to advocate this physical activity and go and tell them all, you know, this is what I'm doing, this is how it's helped me. You know, for example, if Mary's been doing 3 fitness classes a week and she goes swimming, she's very fit and healthy, she can go and tell all of her friends. We can get her involved, we can kind of, you know, put her on a poster maybe, and she can then tell everyone, you know, this is what I've done, this is how it's helped me. We can get testimonials from these older adults and think about how we can use them to sort of spread the message as well, because if it's come from someone of a similar age and of a similar status, they're going to pay a bit more attention. It's all well and good me saying, oh yeah, go and do physical activity, but they're going to look at me and be like, you're like half my age. So if we've got Mary as our example, Mary can help us out there. Another thing that we can use is any sort of material that's been published by the NHS or other kind of credible sources that they will know. Everyone knows the NHS is all for promoting health. So if they've got any publications that they've put out, if we kind of use those and hand those out as well, it will kind of give kudos to the message. It will kind of support that, you know, we're not just saying this, you know, it's not just come from like Jim down the pub who's suddenly heard that activity is going to help your heart. It's the NHS that's saying it. It's a credible source. They're more likely to believe it. So we're basically looking at ways that we can make lots of noise. And the more noise that we make to the older adults, to this demographic, the more chance we've got of moving them into that contemplation stage. So with any change that people are thinking about making, we can discuss decisional balance. So this is the idea of weighing up the pros of a change against the cons of not making a change. You will find generally if the cons are outweighing the pros, then behaviour change is very unlikely. People are going to stay in that pre-contemplation stage because they don't see the benefits of it. You know, the cons are way bigger, so there's not enough benefits for them to even consider making the change. So what we can do here is we can get them to write down a pro and con list. Get them to tell you on paper, get them to write down everything that they think will be a good thing for them doing physical activity and every reason that they've got against it. Hopefully, when they write it down, there will be more pros than cons. But if not, if there are more cons, or even for any cons, we're going to think about how we can challenge them. And so put them on paper and then you can kind of go through each one. Some of them will be genuine concerns, and I'm going to come on to this in just a moment. However, a lot of the time you'll probably find that it's just going to be excuses that they're making, or, you know, it's going to be more fears, you know. So what we're going to do is we're going to identify how we can overcome them. So We've been saying it's pro and con list. Another word we can use for our cons is our barriers. So barriers are anything that people might view as a reason to not make the change. There could be physical barriers, so things that are actually physically a problem. So you can see some examples I've put here. We've got limitations due to a medical condition or due to pain, limited financial means, a lack of accessible facilities. So these are things that are very much real barriers, real concerns that are going to be preventing them from kind of starting this physical activity. The other type of barriers that we will come across are perceived barriers. So these are more things that people might be thinking. There'll be fears that they've got. I'm not, necessarily going to say that they are just purely excuses, but they might be more things that they're just trying to justify to themselves why they shouldn't do it. They're not necessarily fully stable reasons, but they're things that people genuinely be thinking about. So you see I've got the examples here. They might worry that they'll look stupid, or that exercise is for young people. They might be concerned about hurting themselves, or that they are not fit enough. So with each barrier, we want to try and come up with a strategy to overcome it. So physical barriers, these can be a bit more difficult to overcome. So you can see here, limitations due to a medical condition. Now, as I said at the start, if someone has a medical condition, they need to be checked by their GP, and they will need to see an exercise referral qualified instructor. So how are we going to overcome this? Well, have an exercise referral instructor, go out, reach out to one, have them that you can get involved with, get them to kind of work with this person. And explain to them that they know what they're doing, they're qualified to work with these conditions, and they can kind of then take over. With limited financial means, so we can look at ways of introducing free physical activity into their lifestyle. So it doesn't necessarily have to be going into a class and coming to the gym. It could just be as simple as walking to the shops instead of getting the bus, or taking the stairs instead of the lift. They're the two examples that people usually give for free activities. You could also, I don't know kind of what all of your situations are. I don't know kind of what you're going to be taking away from this webinar and how you're going to be using it going forwards. But if you're running a class, for example, something that I've seen that's worked quite well with other instructors is a pay what you can type class. So you could say, right, we're going to do a 30-minute aerobic style class aimed at my older adults. It's a suggested fee of £5, but if you can't afford it, you can just come and pay what you can. This way, even if they're only coming and paying £1, it's reducing that financial barrier. It's giving them an option to kind of come and get active with other people. With perceived barriers, so this is kind of going to be more, like I say, more of their mindset, and trying to reassure them and put them at ease about any concerns that they have. If they think they'll look stupid, how are we going to get around this? We're going to explain to them that everyone started once. You're not going to look stupid. We'll be there to help you and support you. Everyone else in the class will be really friendly. They'll all be, they were all new once. They felt exactly the same, but it'll be it's something that will help you through. It's not just going to be everybody pointing and laughing. We're gonna all be there to support you. So we're going to discuss with whoever comes along. We're going to say to them, right, okay, what are your barriers? What are your cons? Why do you think you don't want to participate in physical activity? We've identified their barriers, and then we're going to come up with strategies to overcome. By providing strategies, we're then hopefully going to be reducing these cons. We're going to be lowering them. And this is going to increase our chances of moving them from pre-contemplation into either contemplation or preparation. Because as I said, if the cons are too high, they're not going to even consider making a change. So by reducing these cons down, we've hopefully kind of started to change their mindset. Once we've identified their barriers and we've come up with ways of overcoming them, the next thing we can do is look at emphasizing the benefits or kind of increasing the pros. So we can point out that it's going to have health benefits for them, but I think there was a study, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was along the lines of, if people didn't have health concerns at that moment in time, they didn't really care as much about physical activity helping their health, because they've not got health concerns, so why do they need to worry about it? So although it is important to kind of say to them, oh, well, look, there's all these amazing health benefits, we need to kind of think of ways that we can make it more personal to them. So instead of just saying, you know, it's going to reduce the risk of a heart attack or stroke, we can focus on things like, you know, it will mean you'll find playing with the grandchildren easier. You can maintain your leisure activities. You'll be able to live independently and go shopping and eat out. Even things like maintaining mobility to get dressed. I don't know if anyone's ever like pulled a muscle and then tried to like put a jacket on with limited range of motion. If you explain to them, well, we're going to, you know, increase the mobility, and then even things like simply just getting dressed, you'll be able to maintain that function for a lot longer, and you'll be able to maintain your independence. Once you've kind of identified some benefits, we can also refer to these as motivators. So things that are going to motivate them to participate in physical activity. So again, you know, oh, I'll be able to play with my grandchildren a lot easier. Once you've identified your benefits or motivators, you can then get them to write them down on a piece of paper and then put them up somewhere very prominent that they'll see them every day. So put, for example, on the fridge door here. And this can be really powerful in the change process, because they can see, they get that visual reminder every time they go to the fridge, every time they go in the kitchen. Oh yeah, if I you know, start being physically active, I'll find it a lot easier to take my grandchildren to the park. So they're getting these constant reminders of the pros, which again, it's going to help with that decisional balance. It's going to help bring those pros up, which will help us hopefully move from pre-contemplation to contemplation and preparation. Another thing we can do once we've identified all our benefits and motivators is actually get them to visualize them. So visualization is a really useful tool, because instead of just sort of saying to them, oh, well, you'll be able to play with your grandchildren, you can say, imagine, close your eyes, imagine that you're taking your grandchildren to the park, you're playing with them, you know, you're running around with them. Or, you know, you're able to go out for that countryside walk along the river. You know, it's going to help relax them as well. It's quite a calming process. And if we do this regularly, get them to feel what the benefit is, you know, it helps them know exactly what it is they want. They'll be able to visualize it. And that's hopefully going to help move them into the preparation stage and get them ready to make that change. So we can say we've now moved, we're in kind of the pre-contemplation preparation phase. What can we do to actually get them there? What can we do to actually get them engaging in physical activity? So something that is going to be incredibly useful is social support. So this is support of family and friends, and it's especially true for the first kind of few steps. So for example, they could plan to do some physical activity with a family member or a friend, or they could go to a gym visit in a small group. Things like arranging a shopping trip with their children so that they can go and buy some exercise gear, you know, buy your tracksuit, go to the shops together and make it a social occasion. Joining a club with like-minded adults that are already there. So coffee mornings and social gatherings. So with this, so if you've got a facility that you own where you've got a group of older adults who are already there, already established members, you could arrange something like a coffee morning. You could advertise it out to the local community and be like, we're having a coffee morning at our club, come along, meet our members, see what we do. Makes it into a social event. One of the big benefits of doing exercise for older adults is that it gives them a chance of socialization. We can, as we get older, find that we start to get a bit more isolated. So if you're giving them these opportunities to be social, to get out there, to meet other people, that's going to be a really big positive for them, because it gets them out of the house, it gets them socializing. So if you're offering something like a coffee morning, come along, come be social, come meet all of our members. It's a way of getting them there. It's taking that first step. Doesn't even have to be a coffee morning where they're going to come and exercise. It's just coming along, getting to know the facilities, getting to know, you know, the staff member or yourself, and starting to create this social circle for them. You can also, if eligible, use GP referral schemes, because these also provide various support networks. But again, this is going to be kind of relevant to anyone with medical conditions. So, you know, if you do have any exercise referral instructors, they'll be able to kind of assist you with kind of other support networks there. I'm going to add here on social support as well. This can actually be very useful in preventing relapse. So not only are we going to use it to try and help encourage people to get them in, we can actually then use this to keep them there and keep them coming. So not only by, like I say, creating a social event at classes, but by getting their family and friends involved, you know. So every week, maybe Dave comes along to class and then his daughter calls him up afterwards. Oh, how was class? Did you go today? Or, you know, oh, don't forget today's your Zumba class, you know, oh, tell me about how it goes. So the family and friends can kind of be motivating them and encouraging them outside of even, you know, going along with them. And also, yeah, on that, you could also have a buddy. You've probably heard like gym buddies. People go along together, they're more likely to keep going because they're there to kind of motivate each other. If they've got someone that they can go to classes with, they're more likely to kind of keep coming. So the final tool that we can kind of use sort of on the pre-contemplation into the action phase is goal setting. So it's not only kind of useful for moving into our action phases, we can also again use this to sort of prevent relapse and to kind of move into the maintenance and termination phases. So, you know, let's say they're now ready to kind of start with physical activity. They've got their pros and their cons, you know, we've built their pros up, we've kind of sorted their cons out so that they're no longer really an issue. We've got strategies for those barriers. They now need to kind of know where they're going with it. So we can set SMART goals. So SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timed. So it's no use to just be saying, right, I'm going to get fit. It's not very smart. It needs to be very specific. So I'm going to do 1 exercise class a week. We've measured it, 1 class a week. It's achievable, something that, yeah, achievably, they could go along. They could do 1 class a week. It's realistic to them. You know, setting a goal of we're going to do 7 classes a week straight away. It's not realistic if they've never exercised before. Let's kind of start with 1, build up. And then timed. So this is where we put a time frame on it. So for example, I'm going to be doing 1 fitness class a week for 4 weeks. Within 4 weeks, I'm going to be going once a week. I'm going to be doing my classes. That's another example there. Take part in 2 30-minute classes a week for the next 4 weeks. And we can use lots of different goals here. We can have diet goals along with our exercise goals. So I'm also going to reduce my alcohol consumption to 14 units per week within the next 4 weeks. So these goals, they're living statements, and we should regularly review them and kind of build on them. And again, together with the motivators and the benefits that we identified earlier, we can write these down and put them somewhere visible, up on the fridge again. So they're going to be seeing them every single day. They'll be there. There'll be constant reminders that, yeah, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to achieve. And this is why I'm doing it. So I'm just going to go a little bit more on SMART goals here. So as I said, SMART goals, they should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound. So you've got to make sure you're saying exactly what you're doing, by how much, and by when. So 2 exercise sessions per week within 4 weeks. We can then kind of, you know, for someone who maybe can't come to an exercise class, well, how about being able to walk continuously for 10 minutes within 4 weeks? You know, this is where if they've not got the accessible facilities or they've not got the financial means, you know, we can still be doing physical activity. Going for a walk is free. You can just go out by yourself. So there's a SMART goal that we can kind of give to them. Reducing body fat by 4 pounds within 4 weeks. So yeah, it might be that, you know, they're like, well, actually, you know, if I was doing physical activity, that would really help me like lose a little bit of weight. So we're setting them a specific goal, something that they want. When setting goals, make sure it is kind of led by them. If they've got kind of ownership of the goal, if they've been involved in setting it, they're more likely to want to achieve it. If you just say to them, okay, your goal is to, I don't know, I don't know, go for a bike ride. You're going to go for a bike ride every day for the next 4 weeks. They're going to be like, well, I don't want to ride my bike. Like, I don't, that's not something I want to do. So they're not going to do it because they've not been involved in the process. But if you ask them, what do you want to achieve? What do you want to get out of it? They're going to take more ownership over their goals, and they'll be more likely to kind of stick at it and keep working towards them. So once we've kind of got them along, we've got them, they've agreed they're going to come to this class, we need to basically make it enjoyable and make it fun. So the exercise that we're doing with them, it's got to be enjoyable. It's got to be something fun. For example, if they love swimming, then we should get them to go to a swimming class. It'd be a better choice than walking football if they don't like football. They should feel free to express what motivates them and what they enjoy. So again, this goes back to the SMART goals that we were just discussing. Kind of ask them what they want, ask them what they want to do, what they want to get involved with. If they start a program and they don't like it, they're more likely to relapse. They're not going to stick with it. So it's important we make it fun. And so this is where group exercise can actually be really useful because it provides a social element. So, we can, as well as just kind of doing the class, we can then make it into a social event afterwards. So a little anecdote for you all here. On a Saturday morning, sometimes I go to a Bollywood dance class. I am the youngest person in this class by about 30 years. Everyone else, they are all definitely in that older adult category. But we all go along. It's taught by a fabulous man. He's just life and soul. He makes everything so much fun and very, very enjoyable. So everybody keeps coming back. They enjoy the class. Next week they come back because we've had fun, we've had a laugh, we've moved about a bit. It's been brilliant. After class, we all go to a local coffee shop in town and we all have coffee. So we've not only had our nice bit of fun in our class, we've then gone and been social afterwards. It kind of makes the whole kind of experience. And actually, it's been given the name Saturday serotonin and socialization. Nice bit of alliteration there. So we go along, we get our serotonin during our dance class, and then we all go for our socialization afterwards. Other things that you can kind of consider making classes fun. We have theme weeks. So, Halloween, we'll do like a Halloween playlist. Christmas, we'll do like a Christmas playlist. You can do things like Valentine's Day, let's do partner exercises. It's just ways of kind of keeping it fun, keeping it creative, and, enhancing their experience. And another thing that I definitely do here, take an interest in them, take an interest in their lives. I can tell you all about, the fact that Liz has got 6 grandchildren. I can tell you all about when Wendy's wedding anniversary is. I know all about Rob's photography interest because I talk to them, I get to know them, we become good friends. Obviously, this should be true of all of your clients, really. But if you've got isolated older adults, you getting to know them, you getting involved, asking them questions about themselves and, oh, what did you get up to at the weekend? You might be their only socialization for that week. So, try and do everything you can to sort of really enhance that experience to them. So when they come along with their classes that they're coming to, you want to start slowly and progress them. I'm hoping this goes without saying. If they come along and you do a really difficult session, they'll feel like they can't do it right, and they'll come along thinking that they can't do it in the first place, and then you've just proved it by making the session too difficult. Start nice and low, start with a low intensity, focus on technique and the understanding and the fun, and then you can gradually kind of progress from there. We've set goals with them, so over time you can review their goals, you can expand on the goals. So okay, great, yeah, you've been coming to 1 class a week now for 4 weeks, for 8 weeks, whatever it is. How about maybe considering coming to 2 classes a week? And so we're kind of progressing their training, but we're going to do it in a slow way so that we're not kind of overloading them and giving them too much all at once. Other things we can kind of include in any sort of group exercise classes that we're doing, ADL exercises, so activities of daily living. So basically anything that kind of reflects what they're going to do in their everyday life. So functional exercises such as things that would mimic carrying shopping, doing housework, doing the gardening. It's going to be, you know, things that, you know, you're doing in their classes. It's then going to continue into their everyday lives, and they'll feel the actual benefits of the physical activities on their own. So yeah, so as I've said, you know, if they want to do the weekly shopping, but they struggle carrying shopping bags, you could recreate this in your gym, in your studio, and be like, right, well, okay, we're going to do some farmers walks, maybe with some dumbbells going across the studio backwards and forwards, mimicking carrying some shopping. Relevant exercise will mean there is a greater chance of adherence, and that could see them progress to that maintenance stage. So yeah, so as I've said, we want to, throughout the whole, you know, process of change, we want to try and prevent relapse. We want to kind of keep them moving forward, keep them coming, keep them involved, by doing things like this, things that, you know, they will see the benefits of in their everyday lives. This is really going to help them. Other things we can kind of use, we can use behavior swaps. So this is just swapping one simple behavior at a time. So we've got examples here of taking the stairs instead of taking the lift, or walking to the shops instead of taking the car or the bus. It's just, you know, saying to them, right, okay, what's one thing that you could change just off the bat? It doesn't need to be anything complicated. In fact, the more simple it is, the more chance they've got of actually making the change and sticking with it. But yeah, we're going to think about like little behaviors that they can change. Because you know, and introduce them one at a time, but after a while, if you've introduced several behavior changes, that's then one big change overall. And again, this is going to be how you can kind of encourage them with introducing more physical activity. A final thing that we can also kind of be using is technology. So again, caveat with older adults, they're not always going to be the most technologically savvy people. So they might not want to use technology to monitor progress, but we can. So we can use technologies such as pedometers, body fat percentage analyzers, BP monitors, and even things like Fitbit's Apple Watch or My Zone belts. I don't know if anyone's got a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, but things like, oh, can you complete your ring for the day and do X amount of exercise and get the screen to like glow and flash and things at you? That can be quite exciting. So you can kind of maybe think about incorporating things like that for them. As I said, they might not necessarily want to introduce the technology. So if you do it slowly and don't be forceful. You know, if they want to be old school and they want to monitor progress on pen and paper with like a chart instead, then that's absolutely fine. But yeah, if they do decide they might want to try using some tech, there are lots and lots of different apps and devices that you can use that will sort of motivate them along. With then monitoring progress, something that you can also do kind of once you've set your goals is think about ways that you can reward them. And these can be simple things like you've been going to like 3 classes this week. That's really great. You've really made that change. So you're sort of affirming their behavior, acknowledging it, and you're commending them for making that change. Sorry, there's a man mowing the lawn outside. You can also kind of congratulate them and praise them. Well done, you did really well today. You worked so hard in that class, you know, you must be feeling really like proud of yourself. Well done. And then you can also kind of use tangible rewards. So I always do like a come to 9 classes, get your 10th class free kind of thing. So you can have like little cards that you stamp. So every time they come off, they get a little stamp, and when they fill their card, they get a free class. And again, that can be another good one to kind of keep them in that action phase, keep them coming, because then they're like, oh, I'm only 2 classes away from my free class. It gives them another sort of motivator that you can use there. So I think that's kind of everything that we're going to cover today. So we have looked at ways in which we can encourage inactive older adults to participate in exercise, and how we can move them through the stages of behaviour change. So we're looking at, like I say, getting from that pre-contemplation, raising their awareness, identifying their barriers and trying to find strategies to overcome them, increasing the positives and the pros of engaging in physical activity, helping with that decisional balance. From there, we are going to get social support, ask them who they've got around, ask them who they can, who can help them, whether that be children, grandchildren, friends, whoever, but people that will be helping them and supporting them through making these changes. We're then going to set goals and things that will kind of give them something to work towards, give them a purpose. And then above all, once they come along, we're going to keep it at a suitable level, make sure that it's starting off nice and slow, and we are going to make everything enjoyable and have lots of fun. So at this point, I don't know if anyone's got any questions.
Thank you so much, Heather. I've not seen any questions come through yet, but we'll keep the chat open for a little while so that, of course, people can ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it might link quite nicely, actually, if I just mentioned, you mentioned planning and purpose and the goals being relatable to what people want to achieve and how we can communicate that to people. Some people on the call may or may not be aware there is a Live Longer Better Champions training. So if that training has some modules around planning and purpose and how we can support older adults through that process, and it also has modules on, and I think the 4 S's. Now, this is a real test if I can remember it: strength, stamina, staying supple, and stability. And how do we communicate that to and make it understandable of how important that is in terms of independence and reaching those goals. So if anyone in the call would be interested in going a deeper dive into helping people and motivating people through that training, then you're more than welcome to sign up to that. It's our Champions training, and I'll put a link when we follow up afterwards. And we have had a couple of messages. Elena said there's a specialist membership that they introduced last year, and if they attend 2 classes a week, they only pay for 3 weeks out of 4. It's worked so well, and most people are now doing 3 to 4 classes a week to make full use of their membership. That's a great idea because it's such a motivation. I feel like if money's involved, people tend to be motivated.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Oh, and Cher has asked a question saying, is it okay to use the NHS exercises online to encourage people to do at home? Lynn's not a physio, so she doesn't want to injure anyone. I think Lynn joined slightly late and you gave a little bit of a disclaimer, Heather, at the beginning. I don't know if you wanted to just...
Yeah, sure. So if the person involved has any sort of medical condition, then they need to be cleared by their GP, and they will need to work with a qualified exercise referral instructor. But as long as they've answered no to all of the questions on a PARQ, because you should always get them to also fill in the PARQ, then absolutely you can encourage them to kind of go and do the exercises on the NHS website. I don't know which exercises you're talking about, but I'm going to assume that they're ones that are suitable. They're not just like, let's go and do some bench presses. I'm assuming they're safe ones, but yeah, that would be okay as long as, like I say, they've got that GP clearance.
And would you mind just giving us a little understanding of what PARQ is?
Of course. So PARQ is a physical activity readiness questionnaire. It has several questions on it. I'm now going to see if I can remember them off the top of my head. So there's one about have you got any heart problems, any issues with blood pressure, any bone or joint problems that can be made worse by physical activity. I'm sure there's examples of these online, but I can send these over to you. I can send the one that we use so you can kind of see what it is. But it's basically a series of yes/no questions. And as long as they've said no to everything, then you can be reasonably certain that they will be able to participate in exercise as long as you start slow and build it up. If they say yes to anything, then you have to refer them off to their GP, get them cleared, get them checked, make sure that, you know, there's no massive contraindications, so any big reasons why they shouldn't be taking part in physical activity.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Heather.
Right.
Beautifully explained. And she says, thank you so much. And Elena's just added in addition to the NHS exercises, Elaine also refers people to Versus Arthritis and the British Lung Foundation sites, because they have specialist programs, people with those long-term health conditions. And I think when it comes to long-term health conditions, you mentioned this before, and people can be a bit concerned about whether they'd be doing too much or whether it's the right thing for them to be exercising. And there is a consensus statement released by Sport England to say that the benefits of exercising outweigh the risk, even for people living with long-term health conditions. So PAR-Qs are vitally important to identify when it's unsafe for people to exercise, but in the vast majority of cases, exercise benefits outweigh the risks. And Lynn from Versus Arthritis has kindly put in the YouTube link to some of their playlists for the videos. Tanya has asked, have you got any further tips regarding relapse? We try to discuss with clients that this is part of the process, part of that cycle.
So I think with relapse, it depends kind of why they're relapsing. Like I said, I think if, you know, it's something really obvious, like they've just broken their ankle, you know, it's going to be difficult to kind of get them to kind of keep coming. But, you know, just kind of keep reinforcing, you know, the pros. And, you know, if they've got a new barrier that's come up and that's the reason why they've relapsed, discuss the barrier, try and find a new strategy to kind of overcome that. Very much kind of try and just keep in contact with them, keep engaged with them. You know, any times they've got concerns or issues, ask them like why, ask them what's going on. And then, like I say, you can kind of come up with these strategies to overcome them. I mean, that's kind of the best I can say. It's, you know, it's a case-by-case basis. Like, people will relapse for all sorts of different reasons. So it would be a conversation with each individual person to see kind of what's going on with them.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that might be all the questions that we have in the chat. So just a massive thank you on behalf of all the Live Longer Better revolutionists on the call. Thank you so much, Heather, for coming this morning and sharing with us about behavior, motivation, techniques. It's really, really interesting and helpful. So we'll be uploading the recording and we'll be sharing your slides and perhaps a link to a PAR-Q if that's okay as well, Heather.
I can do that.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And just a final reminder, when you leave the webinar, if you could please fill in the form survey. There's just 6 questions and we'd really, really appreciate your feedback. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. It's nice to talk to you all.